Our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The Outer Hour, where your voice matters.
Hello and welcome to the Outer Hour. I'm Tom London with you for the next 60 minutes. Stay with us if you are a Services SETA learnership recipient or you drive a motor car and you have in your wallet something like I do. Hold on a moment. Where's it? I'm watching the ladies on screen at the moment. There are our ladies tonight. Stefanie Fick, Asavela Kakaza and Andrea van Heerden saying hello to you. But you'll know what these things look like. Where's mine here? Oh, I thought I had it here. I was going to proudly pull out my driver's license. Oh, my goodness. This isn't working the way I thought it was going. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if you got one of these, if you got one of those, and it's expired, and you don't know what to do, and you want the latest info, and you want the latest news, you've come to the right place. We'll be updating you on the latest when it comes to the driver's license backlog. I like to call it the debacle. We'll be chatting about that in the latest news there. As you know, the 15th of May is the deadline. We're closing in on it with 1.5 million South African drivers or thereabouts driving around South Africa with expired licenses. What are we going to do about it as a country? What is OUTA going to do about it? We'll tell you as we make our way through the show. First up, though, we're going to be chatting with Asavela Kakaza about the Services SETA Learnership Recipient Survey that OUTA is conducting. And we will get to that in just a few moments. In fact, if you know anybody who is a Services SETA learner, or you're a parent, or you're a family member of someone who has been going through the Services SETA programs, then get them to jump on board this program quickly, or get them to watch it on Facebook or YouTube after the fact and participate in this service, because OUTA is out to assist learners in South Africa. We'll tell you how OUTA is doing that in just a moment. Before we do, though, let's say hello to the ladies this evening. I think we'll put everyone up on screen, shall we? And say hello to Advocate Stefanie Fick, first and foremost. Hello, ma'am. How are you tonight?
I'm well. I'm always well. The show is exciting. Nice to see you, Tom.
It's good to see you
and
too.
Yes,
Thank you.
looking forward to the show, being informative and having an interactive chat with our supporters. So, yes. Let's get the show on the road.
And Andrea van Heerden. How's it, Andrea? All good your side of the world?
Hi, good evening, everybody. And Tom, yes, I'm doing great. Sorry, this past couple of days, I'm used to not talking using hand signals. But no, I'm doing wonderful. I had a wonderful break and looking forward to a very great and informative show, like Stefanie mentioned.
Good, can't wait. And Asavela Kakaza will join you in just a moment. How's it, Asavela? You'll be giving us an update on this very important survey that's taking place at the moment. Hi.
Hi, Tom, and hello to the viewers at home.
And it's an all-ladies show tonight, except for me. I'm the thorn amongst the roses. And as always, we invite you, wherever you're watching from, if you're a regular viewer, welcome back home, welcome back to the family. Chat with your friends and the friends you're making in the comment section, and the OUTA participants in the comment section this evening. That's what it's there for. You can comment either on the Facebook page, or you can go to the YouTube channel where we stream live as well. So let's say hello to a couple of people, see who's on first this evening. Devaney David says, good evening, everybody. Devaney is the Outer Hour producer. Samantha Van Ispen will be handling comments in the Facebook comment section, and Maseko Mutsuneng will be in YouTube. Claire Feldman, one of our regular viewers, is on board. Claire says, hi, Team Outer. Nice to see all the regular names here. Rudy Heineke says, good evening, Outarians. Stefanie Fick is on your screen, but she's also in the comment section to interact with you. We've got Andrea van Heerden, who's doing the same in the comment section. Dagmar Hurliman says, good evening, Team Outer. Hello, Dagmar. Thanks for joining us. Freddie Mills says, hello, pretty ladies. Hey, Freddie's got all the right moves tonight. How's it, Freddie? Madeline Gutch says, hello, friends and fellow Outarians. Jeff Scott says, good evening, everybody. Happy day. Andre Jennings, another regular viewer. Good evening, all, says Andre. Andre's been on the show as well. What is that? Freddie Mills says, yours is dusty and old, Tom. Oh, thank you, Freddie. Claire Feldman says this debacle has been going on for years, referring to the driver's license debacle. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Jochi Fillion is joining us from Madrid, Spain tonight. Hello, Jochi. Caroline Marks down in the Cape, there in Milnerton, doing good work for the Milnerton residents. Says good evening, outer team and supporters. People are joining from all around the country and the world. Desmond van Breda says hi, outer team and Tom. And who else have we got? We'll do one or two more. Hilda Meyer says hello, outer team. And wow, Bangkok, Thailand on board. Mike Erickson Miller, hello Tom. Well, saying hello from Bangkok, Thailand. Listening in, you guys. Never miss your show. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate that. And hello from South Africa, across the oceans to the beautiful Thailand. Okay, we'll put more up on screen as we go along. But I think let's get the show moving and start with our first topic. In fact, before we start with the first topic, could I ask you to like and share the show? If you haven't done so already, it really helps us a lot. We're always having a battle with Facebook's algorithms, and to get past Mark Zuckerberg's gate, it is always better if we just hit that like button and share the show. So if you could do that, we'd be most appreciative, and it will help us spread the word. Now, let's talk about Services SETA, shall we? And perhaps lead into this conversation by talking about what Services SETA is, what it's designed to do, and what its original purpose is. So, Asavela, could you just fill us in on what should be Services SETA's role and what should they be doing, assuming they're operating effectively and properly?
Good evening, Tom, and good evening to the viewers at home. So to your question, basically, Services SETA is a skills development and training program. So that's mainly what they should be doing. Now, in case people are wondering what's Alta's involvement in this, we picked up this project when we were approached by learners with complaints against Services SETA. And one of those was that they're not receiving their stipends and many other complaints. And when we did our investigation, we then learned that Services SETA had awarded a tender worth 162 million rand to a company called Grace and Reed. And we then took the matter to court, and judgment was granted in our favor. And well, Tom, I'm here to say that a lot has happened since that judgment was granted in our favor. Okay, maybe not a lot, but there's been new developments. Okay, that's the correct word.
All right, well, now you're forcing me to ask. I need to know, what are the new developments?
Right. Well, Tom, firstly, Services SETA did furnish us with the documents. Well, most of the documents that were requested, we're talking hundreds of pages here, Tom. So the team who are on the comments right now, they work very hard in perusing the documents, checking every invoice, every quotation, every annexure to try and see if really the procurement processes that were supposed to be followed were followed. And I can say, Tom, that we made quite interesting discoveries from that. And one that's worth mentioning right now is that this extends to more than just Services SETA and Grace and Reed. We've discovered that there's a bigger network of people who are unduly benefiting from not just Services SETA, but the SETA program in general, and possibly the Department of Higher Education in general. And that's when then as a team we sit down and we strategized as to how we're going to tackle this, because obviously this is big. You know, one of the suggestions that then came up is the survey that we are going to be speaking about later on, which we urge our the viewers at home to kindly assist us in completing, because the purpose behind this was basically to try and see or understand what the end user's experience is with the SETA programs.
If you've got any stories as you watch the program on Facebook or YouTube Live, any stories about Services SETA, any stories you've heard or any experiences you may have had or people close to you have had, pop them in the comment section. I'd love to pick up on one or two if you do have. But remember that you can pass the information on and get it across to any young person you know who may have been in the Services SETA learnership program, and we want to know, Alta does, about your experience in it. I'm guessing, not only from what you're saying, but also from some of the conversations I've had from learners who have enrolled in these programs who have had various difficulties. I mean, here's some of the difficulties I've heard of. The programs haven't been properly constituted or formed, and that people actually haven't got to the end and got certificates. Or learners haven't received the stipend they're supposed to get, or haven't received it on time, or never received the full stipend. I mean, there are a whole lot of complaints that I've heard, but I'm just one person speaking to a few people, picked up a few things here and there. What have you picked up as you watch the program? Pop it in the comment section. And Asavela, what is coming out of your investigations as you engage with Services SETA, as you ask all the relevant questions, and as you start talking to learners? What kind of picture is emerging? I know it's early days, but have you got any idea on what the picture looks like?
Yeah. Well, Tom, like I said earlier, that one of the major things, or the main things that we picked up, is that this extends to more than just Services SETA. There are other SETAs as well that are implicated, like Construction SETA. And also that, notwithstanding the fact that the company that was awarded this tender by Services SETA, which is Grayson Reed, notwithstanding that it was dissolved, there's other companies that have been, that have been built or by the same people. So it's the same people that are now, and they also these companies such as Coinvest and stuff, they are now getting the tenders from these different SETAs. So and that's exactly what we would like to tackle as ARTA, because we see that this is continuing. So at the end of it all, we would like to put a stop at basically, people reinventing the same companies, the same processes, but obviously in a disguise of a different name, because that's essentially what this is. Same people getting tenders that unduly or without following the necessary processes and under different names and different company names.
Is this affecting the learners at all?
Well, Tom, I guess that's another thing we are trying to identify with the survey. That's one of the things that we want to know, that what is the impact of this mismanagement of funds? What is the efficacy of these SETA programs? I mean, yes, for us to even pick up this project, we were approached by learners with the complaints that not receiving their stipends. So we can say on the surface that the learners are being affected by this mismanagement of funds and everything. But now we want to know for sure, which is why we urge the viewers to share the survey and spread it as much as possible. If you did not participate in any SETA program, maybe somebody who knows someone, did participate. So kindly share it on your WhatsApp status, on your work groups, share it as much as possible, because that's essentially what we're trying to identify here, Tom. What is the impact of these failures to the students? We'll
talk about the survey and the kind of questions that are in the survey in just a moment, but could you just tell me who's the survey for? Is it specifically if you've been in Services SETA, or is it for all SETAs?
Well, Tom, it's for all the SETAs. So if you participated in a learnership in any of the SETA programs, okay? So a learnership, so it can be Services SETA, it can be Construction SETA, any. We have about 21 SETAs, Tom. So if you participated, it doesn't matter when, how long the learnership was. We've stipulated on the survey that the years which should start. So it should start from 2010 all the way up to 2021. So if you participated in any of the learnership programs that were provided or funded by SETA, you're more than welcome to complete the survey. Or if you know somebody, please do spread the word.
I looked at the survey just a little while ago. I'm popping the address up on screen. We'll put it up a number of times during this portion of the show. Surveymonkey.com/SETA is the address that you're going to put into your browser. And when you get to it, it's a very simple survey. It's it's just step by step. And I noticed that you want a bit of information. You want person's name, you want the registration number, etc. Is the information confidential? So when I start filling out this form and I'm going to give you information, are people going to know that I gave it to you, or is it? Are you going to keep my information confidential, or are you going to share it around? What are you going to do?
Right. Well, Tom, I can assure the viewers that information will be kept purely confidential. And the purpose for us asking that question was basically to authenticate the process. We don't want a situation where someone, takes the survey, gives it to their family members to complete, and tells them exactly. So we want this process to be as authentic as possible. So the information, your surname, your learnership, your email address, that will be kept purely confidential, and it will only be used solely for our research purposes. We won't share this information with anybody. So the learners shouldn't worry that, they shouldn't feel like they'll be telling on SETA and we'll pass that information to them. No, this is purely for our research purposes and just authenticating the process.
I looked at some of the questions, are pretty basic. Have you received your certificate? Have you received your stipend? Have you received it on time? How did you receive it? What are you learning, etc., etc. So it's step by step, very easy to complete. You go to the website, you don't need any special programs, and you just fill in the information and submit, and then OUTA has the information. So if you're a Services SETA Learnership recipient, or have been a Services SETA Learnership recipient, if it went well, if it went badly, we want to know about it at the address on screen now. You can go along anytime and complete the survey at surveymonkey.com/SETA. What are you going to do with the information once you've compiled and collated all of it?
Right. Well, Tom, this information, it will form part of the bigger research that we are doing, which obviously we're looking at the impact and the efficacy of the SETA programs. We want to know if the SETA programs are achieving the purpose or the function for which they were intended. Or is it a matter of millions of taxpayers' monies going down the drain? So that if it is the latter, Tom, then we can advocate for the reassessment of the entire SETA program, in addition to obviously reporting the corruption, the mismanagement of funds to the law enforcement bodies. And also, Tom, I think for us, it was important for us to do the survey because, we wanted to know we wanted to involve the end user. We wanted to know firsthand what the end user's experience is, so that we can know what the impact of the SETA programs or this mismanagement, because we know that there's mismanagement, and a student may not know that the reason they're not receiving their stipend is because there's mismanagement at SETA. So I think that's basically what we are trying to do. At the end of the day, we want to see if can we advocate for the reassessment of the SETA programs.
And what have you learned so far? Any interesting tidbits coming out?
From the survey?
Yeah.
Well, Tom, the survey, we have been receiving feedback, but it is quite slow, Tom, and that's why we are here today, to spread the word. We've been running it for 2 weeks now, so we are quite optimistic that we are going to get feedback. We've spoken to other people as well, other NGOs, just asking them to spread the word for us. So we basically just want to know, and I like what you alluded to earlier, Tom, that we're not just looking for bad experiences. We're looking for good. If you have a good story to tell about SETA as well, kindly, by all means, fill the form, because we don't want to make a misinformed decision or advocate for something that's not there. If the learners are happy with how SETA programs are functioning, then that's okay, because at the end of the day, we just want to ensure that these programs, such as SETA and NSS, they achieve their end goal, because most of us, are where we are today purely based on education. And, not for education, we didn't even stand a chance. So when you get programs like these and you hear that there's mismanagement, there's miscorruption, then you wonder if will they be there in the future. So you then look into those things as well. So we're quite optimistic, Tom, and we really do urge, the people at home to please complete, spread the word, share it everywhere you could possibly.
Got it. I'm looking at some of the comments coming up on screen. Skulkshut says, look at the way individuals are playing musical chairs. It's the whole DHET, which includes SETAs, NSFAS, TVET, institutions, etc. Leonard van der Leitgarden sitting in the dark. Oh no, he's waiting for load shedding. We wait for the dark nowadays. Rudy says, Outers busy identifying a network of corrupt activities by individuals, companies, and public officials, not only in SETAs, but in the Department of Higher Education. Lots of comments coming in, some lovely comments. Claire Feldman says the shocking amount of learners who drop out of school, the abysmal quality of schools, education, etc., and the low pass rate. This is a topic people are passionate about, because without quality education, our youth have got no foundation, really. Rudy Ainica says the levies, 1% levies adds up to millions every month. Outers doing a deep investigation and research to show how and where it is going. And a whole lot more. You can read them in the comment section underneath this video. Okay, so let me put this on screen. surveymonkey.com/SETA is where you go to fill out the Outer survey. Outer would like you to participate in the Services SETA or SETA Learnership Recipient Survey at surveymonkey.com/SETA. Your information will be kept confidential, and it will help Outer understand what is going on in the SETAs in South Africa. Asavela, thank you for joining us. It's always good to have you on screen. And I always think you look so legal. There's something about that collar that you have, and I just, every time you're on screen, I just want to go, yes, your worship. You have a good night, and looking forward to having you back with a report on Services SETA soon. Thank you, Asavela.
Thank you, Tom.
A lot of comments coming in. I mean, we could talk about all sorts of things tonight. Talking about Dudumieni's warrant of arrest that's been held over, latest Zondo Commission report. Perhaps if we've got 10 minutes or so at the end of the show, we'll throw a couple of those questions around. So stick around for that. But, everybody is worrying about what happens in a week or two from now, when on the 15th of May, your expired driver's license gets no more grace. That's it. When you drive through a roadblock and you have an expired driver's license, you are going to be in trouble. Not fair, says Outer. Hold on a moment. 1.5 million drivers on the road or thereabouts driving with expired licenses. Surely the system can't process 1.5 million people quickly. We've already had reports of backlogs and problems logging on and getting appointments over and over again. This does not go away at all. So let's bring you the latest update from Advocate Stefanie Fick and Andrea van Heerden, who will discuss this. Well, we often call it a debacle on the show. Now, according to a statement made by the Minister of Transport on the 28th of April this year, the Minister indicated that drivers' competence remains one of the most important pillars of road safety interventions. Now, with only a few days left for the final deadline for the extended grace period for renewal of driving license cards that expired between 26th of March and 2022 and 31st August 2021, the Minister encouraged all those who've not yet come forward to renew their driver's licenses to do so without delay, as there will be no further extension of the grace period beyond the 5th of May 2022. Am I getting my dates wrong? Is it the 5th of May, Andrea? Wow, aren't we there already? I mean, that's tomorrow, isn't it?
Tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Yeah, Tom, it's tomorrow. That's shocking.
All right, that scared me a little more than the 15th. But you know what we like as South Africans? We wait till the last minute, don't we? I mean, and I suppose that's what the minister's alluded to before. I think he's even said that. If everyone doesn't get their applications in, we've just got this mad rush at the end. But it seems to me as if the problem is bigger than that. When you're talking about a million plus people, I'm not sure how fair it is to say everybody rush now, because I don't know whether systems and government can actually handle that many people. So could you give us the latest on this situation? What's Outer's response to that statement that the minister made, by the way?
Thank you, Tom. I think it's twofold. If you think of or look at the statement that the minister made. So number one, he gave us some feedback with regards to what happened during the Easter period and the traveling on it. And he did acknowledge the fact that some of the, or most of the numbers, the fatalities have gone down. And the major contributor towards why these numbers decreased is because of more visible policing. Now, Stefanie can educate us on that as well. But as far as I can recall, that's the first statement the minister made, actually alluding to the fact that OUTA has been saying for years, the only way to fix what's going on in our roads is to increase road safety, to make more visible policing. So he's acknowledged that, and he also said that they're going to increase it. So on the one hand, it was positive, but on the second hand, there are some concerns that he alluded to. So number one is the backlog. So he also said that as of the 28th of April, there's still a 1.4 million people who's driving around with expired licenses. He also mentioned that there's no further extensions past the 5th of May, which is tomorrow's deadline. And he also said that the driver's license testing centres and the Road Traffic Management Corporation are going to implement some relief or some options to make it easier, because we all know the system is troublesome. People don't get bookings, and on that point, he also mentioned that 25% of the bookings that are made in Gauteng, people do not pitch up at the time and the date that booking was made. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to why that is, but we're saying if you have a system in place and there's 25% non-compliance with the system that you created, coupled with the backlog of still 1.4 million, there's seriously something wrong. So basically what he said in his statement with regards to the renewal of driver's license cards is he's putting it squarely on the feet of ordinary citizens, saying that people have been lax, people have to start taking this seriously, and they have to start applying to renew their driver's licenses, which is all great and dandy, but just give us a system that actually works. So that's my opinion. I don't know if Stefanie wants to elaborate more a bit on her response was to the statement.
Go ahead, Stefanie. What's your reply to the minister?
Well, I think what really caught my attention is the fact that the message I got from the minister is if your license weren't renewed, we're going to make sure that there's more law enforcement on the roads in order to catch the people that did not renew their license. So it is, I really got the impression that he is saying to people, you know what, you had enough time. We've given you enough extension and I'm done now. If you don't renew your license, we're going to arrest you. And, immediately what comes to mind is, what Andrea was talking about, the visible policing. Don't we have, far more, serious offenses? Don't you want to, if you have the ability to put more law enforcement on the road, shouldn't your priorities be to catch the drunk drivers, the speedsters, people driving around without license? I'm not talking about an expired license card. I'm talking about without
no
a
license altogether. Yeah.
Yes, a car that is absolutely falling apart. That's literally a death trap. We must remember that an enormous amount of people are dependent on, for example, taxis, and that let's not get involved in whether taxis know how to drive. There are some of that taxis that's literally falling apart, and people put their lives in the hands of taxi drivers who do not abide by rules, etc., etc. So, if you can say that you are putting law enforcement out there in order to catch people because they didn't renew their license, it really does not compute. I mean, sorry, you need to help me, because I do not understand it. And this is where, one needs to come out and say, but know your rights, know your rights when you are stopped by a law enforcement. We do not want to advocate for lawlessness. And I don't think that any one of us wants to be lawless. We just want to be law-abiding citizens. But to be extorted and threatened
I was about to say, Here's my as an average Joe. Here's my problem with the way our roads are managed and policed. And it's going to tie into what Rudy Heineke's put in the comment section. Rudy said the lowest number of fatalities on our roads was in 2010. Remember the year of the FIFA World Cup. Visible policing was the reason. Stats are talking. I will leave it there. It was also a time when we had satellite police stations. I don't know if you remember that. Wherever you went, there were those little satellite police stations, and those have all gone. There's some areas in this country without access to police stations at all that used to have satellite police stations. And I'm focusing on this word visibility. And I'm reminded of it every day when I walk through my suburb. I go on a walk every day, and there's a stop street. There's a 3-way stop street that I pass on my walk every day. And I can stand at that stop street for a couple of minutes and watch the cars come by, and not one person will stop at the stop street. They'll just blast right through it. There's a stop sign. Stop is painted properly on the roads, and South Africans, it seems, as if we don't have police around, or perhaps it's human nature, we just start disregarding things. And so it doesn't seem like a big deal when somebody drives through a stop street. Who cares? It's, you're not going to go to jail for life. But when a kid's walking across that road one day and you've gone through that stop street and you hit that child, then all of a sudden it's a different story. And every day I walk the roads of my suburb and I see people disregarding the traffic laws, aggressive drivers that will point the cars towards pedestrians or ride too close to cyclists, etc. It seems as if the cops aren't on the beat, if they are not patrolling, if they are not stopping you when you blast through that stop street or skip the red robot or do any of the number of things we see on the roads on a daily basis, we're just going to behave like lawless people all day long. And here's what it seems to me, and I'm not saying this is the case, but here's what it feels like. It feels like I can drive around my suburb, do what I want, blast through stop streets, I can disregard red robots, I can drive like a menace, and really no one's going to stop me or catch me. But try and get onto the highway at William Nicol on a Friday night at 9 p.m. and there's going to be a big van there. It's going to have a credit card machine. It's going to have a printer. It's going to print out all my fines and I'm going to pay. So it seems as if policing on the roads really is about roadblocks. And when you hit one, now you're in trouble because your driver's license expired. And I can't help thinking we've got more work that needs to be done than just roadblocks and looking for people that have expired licenses. That's my take on it. Visible policing is everything, in my opinion. Yours?
Oh, can I just on that trend?
Yeah.
It's really ridiculous. It's actually, I don't know if I want to laugh or want to cry. If you think about, you can hand over SOE like Eskom to a family like the Guptas. You can, jy kan ons rot en kaal steel. Literally that, South Africa lost an enormous amount of money to state capture, and we are struggling. We sit literally sitting in the dark. But please, just don't not renew your driver's license because that will get you into trouble. I mean, the priorities are just screwed, if you ask me.
Seems shocking. And I see, I think it was Sam that probably put this up. If you have the ability to put more law enforcement on the road, surely you should be focusing on arresting drunk drivers. And I think that could be a show on its own. Number one, because of the amount of South Africans that don't only drive drunk, but drive drinking alcohol in their cars and get drunk while they driving. It's a South African thing that we seem to do. And then the actual conviction rates, how many people get put in the back of a police van, taken and charged, blood test taken. How many of those people actually get sentenced at the end of the day? I think it's a can of worms. If we opened it, we'd be discussing it forever. Let's stick to the topic. What are your concerns, Andrea? What's worrying you?
Well, I think we alluded to it. So on the one hand, you have this massive backlog. It's not depleting, it's not going down. As of the 28th of April, there's 1.4 million people driving with expired licenses. Every day that amount increased. But yet there's still a backlog of just under 600,000 driver's license cards who have not been printed yet. So now you get yourself in a situation. Let's say a hypothetical situation is, I know my driver's license card has expired. I went to a driver's license testing center. I had to take out a temporary license in order for me to be licensed to drive on the road. Now, waiting for my car to be produced. The temporary license is valid for 6 months. Within 6 months' time, I still don't have my card. What then? Then that in actual fact means I have to go take out another temporary driver's license. So it's a knock-on effect. And honestly feel that it's very unfair for government to place it at the feet of its citizens. If you expect citizens to make use of a system and that system is defunct, surely you cannot now hold them responsible for your mismanagement of it. So that's the one thing, is it's a big concern that this backlog is not depleting, and it doesn't seem to faze the minister. He says that they have done everything they can to alleviate all these issues, but clearly there's something amiss if the number is still 1.4 million and increasing daily. So that's the one thing. And then the second concern is, but that's, I mean, we can purely speculate on that issue as well. But I mean, 25% of the bookings that were made, people haven't pitched up. Now, we know what, well, I know, and Stefanie knows what Wayne's perspective regarding that is. Whether or not that's true, that warrants further investigation, but that makes logical sense that Wayne is of the opinion that the reason why that 25% non-compliance happens is because third parties buy those slots and they can't get rid of them fast enough. So, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether or not there's 25% non-compliance, people aren't showing up. The issue is the system is still defunct. There are still issues with the system. The minister also in his statement said that until the 31st of May, they're going to open up driver's license testing centers. So that effectively means you don't have to make an online booking. The law in any event states that you don't have to make use of the online booking systems, but we know what the law says and what happens in practice are two different things. To a driver's license testing center, you haven't made a booking. What do? They send you away. But now in the statement, the minister said they're not allowed to do it up until the 31st of May. You can just merely walk into any driver's license testing center to renew your driver's license card. And secondly, that they're going to extend some of the working hours of these driver license testing centers by 2 hours, and it would still also be open on Saturdays and Sundays.
You know, a couple of years back, I opened a Capitec bank account, and I'm not trying to make an endorsement for Capitec Bank tonight, but I have noticed how easy it is when you lose your card. You walk in and you put your finger on the fingerprint machine, and then they type a few things into a computer, and they make the card while you sit there, and you walk out with your card 5 minutes later. It would be lovely if our testing centers and licensing centers worked like that you could walk in as quickly as you can in some of the banks in this country and renew your card and just get it. I mean, if a bank can print a bank card in 5 minutes and update the entire system and have you walking out in literally 5 minutes, why can't we do that with driver's license cards? What's the most important part that outer supporters should be aware of when it comes to this problem that we're going to be experiencing soon, Stefanie?
You know what? The best advice I think we can give you is to, nod and smile when you are stopped by law enforcement officer and just know your rights. If you have been trying to renew your driver's license card, just keep record. Now, in other words, step by step, keep record. And I think we are of the view that, if you really went out of your way to try and renew your driver's license, and as Andrea has said, due to a system that is not working optimally and that administratively it is a nightmare, and that they can't function properly and that they can't make sure that their own processes are followed, that I can't give you a guarantee. I can't promise you that. But logic dictates that no court will find you guilty, because there is such a thing that if you are put in an impossible situation, why would any court? I don't think any prosecutor will prosecute you. But if you are prosecuted, why would any court find you guilty? So, if you are stopped, just always keep your driver's license card with you, whether that's valid or invalid. And then also keep made certified copies of, how you tried, the fact that you maybe, applied for the license and haven't gotten your card yet. Keep all the proof, with you. Now, no law enforcement should arrest you. I don't think that that's an arrestable offense. So that's why I'm saying, nod and smile. Don't give them an opportunity to pin anything else on you. And go with it. Take the ticket. And before we get into more technical stuff, because I think you need to understand, depending on also where you are where you are stopped. Sorry, not necessarily.
Well, I wanted
arrested,
to ask you, but just before you continue, what can they do when you are stopped and you're driving with an expired driver's license card?
Well, I would, if you are asked, just make sure that, why you are stopped. Remember, not everything is about driver's license cards. Sometimes it is about, searching cars because hopefully, policemen and metro cops are also looking for unlicensed firearms and, people driving around with cars that's not necessarily registered, stolen cars, etc., looking for, people with outstanding warrants. We're talking about criminals. I have to believe that sometimes the police and law enforcement are just doing their job. In terms of a roadblock where they are literally looking at, expired driver's license cards, I would, show them the expired license card and also show them, the hoops you jumped through in order to try and renew your driver's license card. In other words, it's your proof that you did apply, or the proof that you did try and make a booking, maybe a photograph of standing in a queue, and then, just before you get to the front of the queue, you were turned away because all of a sudden there's load shedding and the system is offline. There's so many examples out there. I can't even begin to talk on behalf of people that are just struggling to get their licenses renewed. And we are talking about people that just wants to be law-abiding citizens. And
can you be arrested?
Not granted the opportunity.
Can you be arrested?
Okay, let me, from a legal point of view, I can't see how. You can only be arrested if a crime was committed in a law enforcement officer's presence. In other words, you're literally driving around with a stolen car, or you assault the police officer. That type of crimes. Mm-hmm. That's the crimes that people get arrested for. And then you also can get arrested if there's an outstanding warrant of arrest. Just remember that they should show you the warrant of arrest. And a warrant of arrest normally speaks to, worst case scenario, you can get a J50 warrant of arrest. That's where someone is circulated and the court and the prosecuting authority is looking for you, very serious offenses. Then there's bench warrant, what we used to call bench warrants. And those are the warrants that is issued by a magistrate because you did not appear in a court of law. So in other words, you can basically get arrested if you got a ticket, a summons, not a ticket, forget about ticket, because that's just confusing the issues. When you got a summons or a ticket with a trial date on it, and you ignored going to court. In other words, you were instructed whichever way to appear in court, and you then, it's sort of contempt, you didn't appear, then they can issue a bench warrant. That goes for any crime, not just, traffic tickets, that goes for every. Then they can arrest you. So on that point, no, the answer is no. In my view, they can't. But unfortunately, if you talk back and you are rude and all of that, I can't sit here and say that a policeman will not use the opportunity to arrest you for freaking defeating the ends of justice or trying to resist arrest, or it's trumped up charges in my view. So just be polite.
Stay calm and be polite.
Side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And Andrea, is this going to be Outa's next big project? It's starting to look like it to me, Andrea. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question. It's quite a loaded question, that one, because in my mind, it's already a big project, just because I'm in the thick of things. But I think we also did do some legal research on it. We did obtain a legal opinion. And there are certain doors that might open that will give out an opportunity to perhaps go a collateral challenge route on these issues. But we need to have test cases. So we're going to have to need people to stand up and be brave so we can use that as part of our defenses. So the potential is there, yes, to be a massive project. But in my mind, it is already a big project. Because just remember, this project actually started with us proposing the extensions of the validity license cards from 5 to 10 years. Now, just on your previous questions as well, Tom, something that was, in my view, completely lacking from the minister in his statement was any guidance or any feedback on that issue. Because we did meet with him in March, and he endeavored to provide us feedback, which we haven't received. He then instructed the RTMC to conduct research into this issue, and their deadline was the 30th of April. Still, we haven't received any feedback. So that's one thing we're still going to keep pushing for, is the extension of the validity of driver's license cards from 5 to 10 years. Because if you think about it, if the minister signs that regulation into law tomorrow, this whole issue goes away and gives them an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and to come up with better solutions.
A simple and elegant solution, that is. Yeah. Stefanie, we talk about public participation a lot on the show, and we encourage viewers and South Africans to participate publicly in all sorts of forums and on different issues. What and how will public participation help? And how will public participation help Outa in this regard?
With regards to there's so many issues, and with regards to these driver's license, because you are, in my view, are being threatened because the government is in certain instances. I mean, we have to applaud some of the test stations that's open, 24 hours, and they help people. But some people are hampered by a process that is not theirs. It is a process that they need to abide by. And if government can't give you the opportunity to do that, you are sitting in a very precarious position. And I think this is where we are. I think I don't think it's a question of public participation. It's about civil activism. You need to decide, ultimately you need to decide, is this an issue you are willing to stand up for? Do you think that you are right? And I'm talking about, please understand me, that if you ever receive a ticket and you believe that you committed the crime, do the time. In other words, pay the fine. I mean, that is the least resistance. But if you really do feel that you are innocent, that you got, you taken the time and you followed the process, and you were just, not granted the opportunity to do what you just want to do, then it's time to stand up and be an active citizen, and and be vocal about the fact that it's not fair. Can I just say this? That I was very worried after an article appeared about what's going to happen at roadblocks, and that there's going to be a clerk of the court and they're going to issue warrant of arrest. And I had this discussion with Cornelia as well with Fines for You, which is just the incorrect process. And I saw someone also commented on this, is that this is not supposed to be a money-making scheme. This is not supposed to be roadblocks because you need more money. Roadblocks is supposed to, catch criminals, in my view. And, I think RTMC, RTIA, who hopefully will not exist for very much longer. And the department, what their goal should be is to curb road deaths and to go after real criminals and just make it easy for people to follow an administrative process. But understand this, if you are stopped in Gauteng, in other words, Joburg and Tshwane, R2 applies. Take the ticket, don't fight the ticket, and then just elect to be tried in court, because you still have that opportunity. Is take the ticket. I think we will put the process on our website, fill out the form, elect to be tried in court. If you ever get a summons, then you have an opportunity to discuss this with the prosecutor and really just explain why you think you are not guilty. And I think your chances are good that you, A, will not receive a summons, and B, that the state will, in that circumstances, not prosecute you. If you are outside of Gauteng, R2 does not apply, you will probably get a ticket. And if there is a trial date, just go to court on that day and explain your case to a prosecutor. And may I just add this, because we are really running out of time, is that I think we also would like to know what is the problems that you are faced with. And, to have a lawyer on call is maybe a good idea, but just know your rights. You don't always need to, grab the phone and phone a lawyer. Just know your rights. And if you come from a right spot, I do believe that, justice will prevail in your favor.
Don't be afraid to speak up, is what you're saying, and present your case to a magistrate. I think most of us are very scared of appearing in a court. I know it's different for attorneys and lawyers and advocates, but for average people, the thought of going to stand in front of a magistrate and argue your case is terrifying. But you're demystifying it a bit for us tonight, and really what I'm getting from you is, don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to have all your ducks in a row in the car. If your license hasn't been extended, you've tried to. If you get a ticket, take it, go along to the court, take the half a day off, and go and fight your case. Be fascinating to see what magistrates do in that case, because it would be an interesting argument that you're presenting to the court. Shall we get some comments from viewers quickly? Let's take a look at what's happening on the comment section. Claire Feldman says, a truck next to me today doing at least 100 k's an hour down Rivonia Road. Now, we see this all the time. We see bad behavior on our roads all day long. And I'm not sure that the driver's license deadline is going to help curb that. Claire Feldman says, my turn next year. I dread it in anticipation. Madeline Gooch says, 2023 for me too. I am also dreading it. Andre Jennings says, I stay in Pretoria. I got an appointment in Vereeniging, took the day off. My husband drove the car as my drivers had already expired. Got there. The centre was closed due to COVID. Then got an appointment in Edenvale, another day of leave, and finally got mine at the end of last year. Alex says, my turn later this year. I mean, everybody's dreading this. Nick Batulis wants to know, does this driver's license renewal threat only apply to the general law-abiding ordinary citizens? He's talking about taxis. Come on, have a look at Cedar Road. And I know I'm a member of I Love Fourways, and Cedar Road is mentioned every day on I Love Fourways. Come and look on Cedar Road, Broad Acres, between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. You'll be astounded at the dangerous and aggressive, lawless behavior. They victimize women and children on the way to school at the Lion Park intersection. Talking stop streets, people don't understand traffic circles or traffic lights, and the traffic lights aren't working. Jenny Horton says, we don't want to pay the traffic cops. And I think that's coming out more and more. I think as we're becoming more conscious as South Africans and understanding what this word corruption means, and that we can be corruptees or corruptors as well, just driving our car around. That when you make a stand against corruption, you really don't want to be a South African handing 100 Rand notes outside the window and making things easy for yourself and corrupting the system anymore. And I like that point from Jenny Horton that says we don't want to pay the traffic cops. And I guess that's what she's alluding to. I hope so. Caroline Mark says traffic policing seems to be more about revenue collection from soft targets rather than road safety. And Clive Beckett says, Stefani is the star of your show, Tom. Bright mind and a lovely lady too. Would be a future cabinet minister for me once we throw this corrupt regime out. So which portfolio would you like, Stefani? Justice or transport? Would you like an easy one, like arts and culture?
That's a good question.
All right, we'll let you think about it. You can answer it at the end of the show. There's a lot of comments coming through here. We can't put all of them on. Ali says we have to still zigzag erratically within dangerous potholes as well, and that situation is getting worse day by day. And that's linked to the water story as well. I mean, I've noticed that when the wastewater drains and our drains are not working properly, the water runs onto the streets and then washes the roads away. So it's all linked. Claire wants to know why we don't get the minister on the show and direct these questions to him. I'd love to, actually. I'm going to ask Devaney Davids if she can put in a request to the minister to appear on the show. I would love to have Minister Mbulule on the show with us and discuss this with him. So I'm not sure whether the minister makes time on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. to watch the Outer Hour, but Mr. Minister, if you do, you're more than welcome. And I mean that, genuinely. You're more than welcome to join us on the show. Yes, Stefanie?
I just want to say the minister can't even fight, I don't know how many 100 ghost employees at PRASA. Where would he, I don't know.
So you don't
he
think
won't
he's
have
coming,
answers to your questions.
All right, well, it's not my questions that I think you must be worried about. It's the questions that would come from the viewers. All right, let's leave it there for now because I know that we're going to have many more updates on this topic. And also, I'd like to welcome our first-time viewers on the show tonight, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you. There were a couple of people who said first-time viewing, so welcome to the show. Hope you make it your home on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Dustin Miller has got hold of us out of Florida, the USA, saying in the US, Florida, for example, they're good for 9 years. It would create a huge relief for people in the system itself. And lots of people commenting. It's wonderful to see these comments. Remember that the Outer Comms team and the Outer project managers look at your comments. So everything that you put on this comment section underneath this video is useful to the good people at Outer. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I saw some questions coming in at the beginning of the show, Stefanie, where people were talking about the latest or the final report in the Zondo Commission reports. Your in a minute or so, your observations?
I think this is the second last report, so I think
second?
we're going to find a
one
lot of
more.
recommendations in the last report. This is a big one, and someone said, "Why is this so big? Is it because it's in more detail?" I just think that Eskom as one of the SOEs were totally captured, by the Guptas. I think what stood out for me is the fact that the judge went out to say that the ANC is responsible, that our former President Zuma, had a hand in or facilitated the whole capture thing, and that he made it possible for a lot of these state capture events to happen, and specifically in Eskom. I think if you read the report, you would see that although we have legislation, we have processes. If you put the right persons in positions, you can assure that things happen outside of the law and that there's no accountability. And that what happens is that then a state-owned entity as big as Eskom is then given and run by the Gupta family. And I think I also realized just how much money we lost to state capture. And yet again, it sort of hits me, between the eyes, and my heart literally stops to think, they were talking about McKinsey paying back 1.1 billion. That's a drop in the bucket. But do we realize how much money that is? And it makes me angry to think that with 1.1 billion, I think, we could fix quite a few things. Health in this country is not what it's supposed to be. People need to have access to sort of hospitals where they can go, not sit in queues. Everything is not falling apart. Every time I think about the amount of money, I think about school children, young kids that have to walk miles and miles and miles to go to a school that most probably are falling apart. How many people do not have access to clean water and sanitation? And that money was lost that we could have spent on infrastructure. KwaZulu-Natal is going through, a hell of a time. And that's partly because money did not go to infrastructure where it was supposed to go. So, this, except for this report, asking for accountability, and yes, people belong in orange overalls, but we need ethical leadership. We need a change of, we need political parties and the ruling party to take corruption seriously and not just talk about it, but take action in order to, you know what, create a better South Africa for all.
I think it was a comment from Wayne on Twitter in this last week about the cost of the Zondo Commission. Was when you look at the cost and you have something to say about it, just remember that that's less than what we spend on VIP protection for our government ministers in a year.
Yeah.
And the other thing I realized as I read through the fourth report was that we've heard most of that come from Rudy Heineke on the Outer Hour in the last 2 years or so. You know, a lot of the names, Anoj Singh, for example, and others that we have spoken about a lot on the Outer Hour, and details that have been presented on the show. It was like the Zondo Commission almost photocopied what Rudy Heineke has been saying on the Outer Hour for 2 years now. Okay, there was another one. I think someone wanted to comment on your comment on Dudumieni and the warrant of arrest, which I must say was held over. She was too sick to appear in court on the case where she mentioned the witness's name at the Zondo Commission.
Yeah, the poor soul. I mean, should we give an opportunity to maybe bring a certificate? Maybe she's really ill. Maybe this is just not wasting the court's time. Should we have a positive outlook? Should we, is it the negative? I just think that, you know what? I think this shows that although the wheel of justice are turning slowly, it is turning, and that somewhere along the line, what is that saying about the
worm turns? Oh, the chickens come home to roost. The worm turns. The pendulum always swings back.
Yes, yes, all of that. Mrs. Smieni has, dodged the bullet for quite some time. And then Outer came and we declared her delinquent director. And now, one step after the other, things are happening.
Well, there's no lack of topics for conversation in South Africa, that's for sure. We could talk for another hour, but the show is over. So let me say thank you to the lady on screen at the moment, Advocate Stefanie Fick. Thank you, Stefanie. Good to have you with us. And your multitude of fans, I'm sure, are pressing the heart button now and blowing kisses to you.
There's a heart to you guys too. You know what? Lovely to be on the show. This, Tom, thank you to you keeping us together and on point. The lovely ladies that joined us tonight. I mean, I'm so proud to have a team. My team is also in the comment section. The whole Outer team working on it is just. Guys, I get up in the morning with a smile on my face to realize that I'm working with this team and that, we need the support. We need the support. The more support we get, the more we can do.
The team that Stefanie's talking about, is broader than the two people I'm going to say goodbye to now, but on screen, Andrea van Heerden. Thanks for joining us, Senior Legal Project Manager at Outer. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I'm going to leave you with these words that always encourage me. You can't do a lot, that's okay, just as long as you do something.
Oh, no pressure, Asavela Kakaza. Do you have a line lined up? Legal Project Manager, and SETA project is her baby. Don't forget to go along to the survey, surveymonkey.com/SETA, and complete the survey and tell someone that you know who's been through Services SETA to tell Outer about their experiences. Okay, I gave you about 20 seconds to think of something, Asavela Kakaza. Thanks for joining us tonight.
I can't think of anything else, Tom, other than what you just mentioned. I'm just asking people to please help us in completing the survey. That's all. And thank you so much for having me in the show, Tom. It was a pleasure being here.
Always a pleasure. My face lights up when I see you on screen, so thank you. The big thank you is reserved for you, sitting in Thailand, Florida, USA, the UK, expats all over the world, Australians. I know there's South African expats in Australia who watch the show. And you, inside the borders of South Africa, driving over the potholed roads, worrying about the water that's coming out the taps and whether your driver's license card is ever going to be renewed. That's the bad stuff. But the good stuff is, there's a lot of good stuff. I was walking around today, 22 degrees in winter. Hey, 22 degrees, walking around in shorts and a t-shirt. enjoying the beautiful scenery of Weltevreden Park. No better weather in the world, I tell you. If you're watching from overseas, come back to South Africa. Come and live in Velties. Best weather in the world. And tomorrow, when you're walking around this country of ours or driving around this country of ours, thinking of all the problems we've got, roll down the window. We don't really roll them down anymore. Hey, we just put down your window and just feel that beautiful air. The beautiful South Africa, the most beautiful country in the world. Don't forget that. Big thank you is reserved for you. So find some joy inside the mayhem is what I guess I'm saying. And come back to us next Wednesday at 7 p.m. in one shape, in good health, with a bit of money in your pocket and doing well and being loved. Until then, I'll miss you already. I'm Tom London. Good
Our
night.
fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The Outer Hour, where your